44% of mid-sized companies actually said that suppliers could not meet their obligations. 32% of these people that were surveyed said that they actually lost money because suppliers could not meet their obligations. We're talking about contingency planning for suppliers. After suppliers, are there any other issues? It seems like it's the biggest issue facing mid-sized companies.
By far and away, the suppliers and the continuity planning is the biggest issue. You think of all the things that can happen to a business, weather-related events, fires, theft, things of that nature, and you compare that to an event that happens absent continuity plan. It can make a bad case very, very poor. If you have an operation in your four walls, you know what that is. You manage it, you protect it, you cover it. But what happens to the suppliers that you have to work with in order to have your product completed? If that business goes down, it is the same effect as the business going down in your four walls.
What can I do to make sure that I am protecting myself in case a supplier goes out of business? Or what do you see like smart managers do to make sure that they're giving themselves options?
So in my mind's eye, I would envision 3 degrees of expertise as it relates to the preparedness. I would say the most savvy business owners have more than one vendor that they're utilizing. And in addition to having more than one vendor, that business owner really understands the continuity plan of that vendor. In other words, they don't depend on that vendor to provide their sole product or their sole service. An experienced business owner may have a continuity plan, but they may or may not manage it on an annual basis. And then in the third layer, the average business owner may not have a continuity plan at all. So in my mind's eye, the big difference is having a variety of vendors, and variety meaning not in the same geographic space.
That's great.
Well.
I wonder, do you find that some of the savvy business owners you talk to, that they have as close a relationship with their vendors as they do with some of their customers?
The most savvy business owners understand their vendor's business as well as they do their own business.
Any advice to customers, as to some of the questions that you would ask of a vendor when you're interviewing them? Like, what are some of the red flags that you would say of a vendor that might not be somebody that would be good to work with?
Understanding the vendor's operations from a domestic and foreign standpoint are very key.
Okay.
In terms of the flow of business that that vendor has would also be critical. And listening with a keen eye to understand, does that vendor know my business? Does that vendor understand my ebb and flow of business on a day in and day out basis? And also understanding, does that vendor work with other competitors in my own market space?
And is that a good thing? If they work with other competitors in your market space, or would you consider that to be a bad thing?
I think it's a very good thing in the sense that they could very well have a clear understanding of my needs.
Okay.
And that would also tell me a great deal about their ability to support me, not only today, but in the future.
The Hartford did their mid-sized business monitor, where they surveyed about 500 mid-sized owners, executives of mid-sized companies around the country. Nearly 2/3 of them said that they do have a backup vendor, which is really good news. But for the third of them that do not have a backup vendor, what kind of risks are they looking at?
Really what it boils down to is, are you comfortable with having all your eggs in one basket? Multiple vendors, as I think of continuity plan, gives me as a business owner the ability to have an extra safety net when something may go awry with one of my vendors.
Bring up about competitors and their importance in continuity planning. So, normally the typical business person would think like, oh, good, my competitor's out of business. That's great news for our business. Why is that a concern, though?
Well, if you think about it from this standpoint, in any business, in any marketplace, you want to be the top dog.
Right.
But you don't want to be the only dog.
Right.
And the reason I say that is you have a marketplace, any marketplace, and what you really want is to have competitors there that are going to generate the revenue, that are going to generate the drawing of more customers. So
Right.
In any industry, you would never have one player.
You always think about competitors as being somebody that's going to take away your business. But, as a group, companies are in the same industry, they're educating the marketplace, aren't they? So they kind of benefit each other in a way.
Absent competition, we have a bit of lethargy. So you really need to be certain that you're on your A game. You really need to be certain that you're able to identify the needs of your customers.
Okay, so let's stay on that for a second. So say like a competitor goes out of business, right? Or potentially a competitor goes out of business. So you're saying that if I'm running a company, a mid-sized company, I should be thinking like, okay, so what's my plan B if my competitor goes out of business?
Absolutely. I think of it as opportunity.
Okay.
I have to not only think of how to grow my business, how to sustain my business, but I also have to be prepared to take an influx of 20 or 30% new business. That's the value of a continuity plan. It's not just about how to re-engage myself when my business fails. It's how do I position myself to be successful when another competitor's business fails.